Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look back at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Citizen Bull will be named champion 2-year-old after winning it for Bob Baffert. Baffert runs 1, 2, 4 in the Juvenile. But as we break from the gate, keep an eye on the number 1, East Avenue, the favorite. This is not a good start.
This changes the complexion of the entire race. That he was supposed to be speed in here as the favorite. Once he stumbles and loses his best chance, just look at everybody else here. Like, everybody just takes a hold here. Citizen Bull clears to the lead. His stablemate Gaming follows him from the outside. They're going to go 1-2 around the track. Everybody else grabs and lets these two horses control up front.
And Citizen Bull cleared, made the lead. He's got his stablemate chasing, so the pressure will be there, but it's not going to be intense for both of them to have a true chance to win. And the pace is fair. 23-2, 47-4. Citizen Bull relaxing on the lead at a price. Getaway Carmike, I think going into this race, distance was going to be a question for him. He's tucking in third, and he's going to run sort of an even race.
Yeah, he does. He gets a good trip in here. I think you and I maybe both thought they'd get more aggressive with this horse. In his most recent start, the first time they stretched him out, they did rate and let Citizen Bull clear to the lead. I really thought there'd be totally different tactics here, and they'd use his speed. They did not. They were happy to take a hold of this horse and sit in the pocket here. He gets a great trip, and he just doesn't really have any kick.
Ferocious was hard-ridden on the backstretch. Looked like he got himself in a little bit of trouble. He's all the way near the back now. Chancellor McPatrick, the one-run closer, is trying to get into things. But as of right now, it is Baffert in control, and they're going to stay that way all the way to the wire. Citizen Bull and Gaming had been working together in the morning. Citizen Bull had been getting the better of Gaming, and he gets the better of Gaming again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is they both run well in here, Dan. Citizen Bull had the best trip in the race. Gaming had the second best trip in the race. And they're going to run 1-2 in here because this pace was not fast. And they have plenty left here around the final turn and through this race. You saw Gaming there. Was a little bit late to change his lead. Then he didn't do it until about the 16th pole. I thought he stayed on really well after that. But he was never catching his stablemate, who just dominated up front with a pretty soft trip overall.
Let's start things out with East Avenue, who had been on the lead in both starts, including a win in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. The break pretty much sealed his deal. He didn't run at a step after that, but after that sort of start, who knows if there were any physical issues as well.
Yeah, you just want to be lenient here. He obviously didn't show up after the stumble, but that was not just, a little stumble there, Dan. That was a very awkward start for this horse. And then once he sort of regathered himself, he was far back in the pack, and he just didn't do much. Just put a line through this. His first two starts were really good. That's why he was the favorite in this race.
Chancellor McPatrick used to coming from off the pace. He was unbeaten coming in. This was his two-turn debut. I'm not sure it was the two turns that did him in. I just think this pace wasn't as fast as what he prefers, and he sort of just stayed on, again, in an even manner in the lane.
Yeah, didn't get a great setup here, that's for sure. But he also just never really made any kind of a menacing run in this race. Then they were content to rate him early and sort of get over to save at least a little bit of ground in the early stages. But he was on the outside. He was driving around the final turn, but that's right when the pace was picking up, and he never really made any kind of an impact in here, even with all the things that were working against him, a poor setup, and maybe not being within range enough to make a serious impact. I thought he was super disappointed in this race, his two-turn debut.
Jonathan's Way was also trying two turns for the first time. He was coming into this race a perfect 2 for 2. Were you surprised Joel wasn't a little bit more aggressive leaving the gate?
Didn't love the trip that they gave this horse. I don't know why, especially, if their plan was to, going in was maybe to sit off. They figured East Avenue's faster than us, we'll sit off of him. If that's your plan going in, that's fine. But once East Avenue doesn't break, you got to change your plan, man. You got to go. They did not do that with Jonathan's Way. Took a hold of him. I don't know. He was in a little bit of traffic on the first turn, then sort of in and among horses on the backstretch. I never really thought he was in a great position. That being said, around the second turn, he was all in, and he wasn't really keeping up.
Ferocious is a horse that still looks like he's learning. He's still a bit green. He was in between horses. He was in tight for some of this journey, and he still kicked on to finish 5th, although a fairly well-beaten 5th. I still think there's something here with this horse. I'm curious to see how he matures over the winter into his 3-year-old season.
I'm going to agree with you on that. This is another, maybe more than anyone else in this race, I just hated the trip and ride that he got here. I'm not going to blame it on Castellano. I'm not sure what was going on, but this horse to me was never in position to be effective in this race. He was actually last at the top of the stretch somehow, and he did run a little bit at the end. I don't know. He's been a tough horse to read as a 2-year-old, Dan. I can't say that I love any of the trips that he's gotten in his grade 1 starts. And also not sure that he ran that well either time. But this one takes the cake, man. To me, this horse had no chance in here.
Gaming, of course, skipped the American Pharoah, a race won by Citizen Bull. We had not seen him since the Del Mar summer meet when he captured the Del Mar Futurity. So this was his first start in a little bit of time and his first start around 2 turns. And I think all things considered, he ran very well with a good trip from Irad.
Yeah, Irad gave him a great trip here. I mean, they got forward. I feel like they were probably very happy to be just sitting right off Citizen Bull up the backstretch in this race, Dan. And ultimately, when the racing started, Gaming did his best. He ran really well. He was never getting to Citizen Bull. He was second best in here, but I thought he ran really well with a good trip.
I thought Hernandez gave Getaway Car a very good trip as well. I just think this distance against this caliber of competition saw him out. I'd like to see him as a nice little sprinter next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Seems like if he's going to be effective going longer, then they just got to get way more aggressive with him and use his speed. And if that's not going to happen, then you just got to cut him back.
And as for Hill Road, who was trying dirt for the first time, this is a horse that has campaigned in Europe. He just didn't show speed, and we don't expect that from the European horses racing on dirt. And he was in behind a lot of horses turning for home. Rispoli rode the hair off of him to get third.
Yeah, had a really nice dirt pedigree, so it was going to be very interesting to see how he handled it. Right, getting outrun didn't help him because there wasn't a big pace in here. And to be honest, Dan, Rispoli, he gave this horse a great closer's trip in here. It saved all the ground. When you're riding a 60-1 shot, you might as well take your chances and stay inside and see if it works out. And it worked out. And this horse ran at the end, and he was the only one making up late ground in here to get up for third.
Let's take a closer look at the winner. Citizen Bull here earned a 96 Beyer speed figure for this race. He was coming into it off a win in the American Pharoah, a race where we were somewhat surprised that he made the lead over Getaway Car, but I guess he's just naturally fast, Mike, and he went to the frontier. He rated very kindly under Martin Garcia, and he sprinted on home. He's a son of Into Mischief, who sold for $675,000. This is the family of Favorite Trick, who won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile to cap off an undefeated 2-year-old campaign that not only saw him win champion 2-year-old honors, but also Horse of the Year. So he's got a little bit of pedigree. He's got Bob Baffert in his corner, and all of a sudden, we're Derby dreaming.
Yeah, and he's got a bunch of really good races too as a 2-year-old. Dan, right? It was hard to project him being on the lead in the American Pharoah, but once he got there, he won that race, pretty easily. And you go back to the Del Mar Futurity when Gaming beat him going 7. It almost just looks like a little bit more of like a fact-finding mission there for Baffert. They rated him, they sat wide around the track and didn't get aggressive with him at all. Maybe that was just to find out, what was going to happen if they tried those tactics. They didn't have to do that in the last 2 starts. It was much the best both times.
Let's take a look at the prices for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Dismiss Baffert at your own risk. Citizen Bull, despite winning the Grade 1 American Pharoah around 2 turns in his prior start, returned $33.80. Gaming was second. Hill Road, a belated rally for third at a big price, and Baffert is back on the Derby trail. He'll be eligible to compete at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May, and perhaps we'll see him with Citizen Bull and Gaming.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.